1925. The edge of the Brazilian Amazon. A British explorer walks into the trees and is never seen again. His name was Percy Fawcett, and he was chasing a rumor. He called it the City of Z, a lost metropolis hidden somewhere in the rainforest, built by a civilization no one believed had ever existed. The experts laughed. Everyone knew the Amazon could never have held a city. The soil was too thin, the jungle too hostile, the land too wild to ever feed a great people. For most of the last 100 years, that was the settled science. The Amazon was pristine wilderness, almost untouched by human hands. And Percy Fawcett had walked to his death chasing a fantasy. Except he wasn't entirely wrong, because nearly a century later, a small aircraft flew over a valley on the far side of the Amazon and fired millions of laser pulses down through the canopy. And when the leaves were stripped away from the data, something appeared on the screen that should not have been there. Not a village, not a scattering of ruins. A city, streets, plazas, thousands of structures laid out in deliberate geometric lines. It had been lying beneath the trees for 2,000 years, and we had been walking over it the whole time without ever seeing it. This is the story of the cities buried beneath the Amazon, and how a machine finally found what the jungle had spent 2,000 years hiding. The valley is called the Upano. It lies in the eastern lowlands of Ecuador, where the Andes break apart and fall away into the Amazon basin. For more than 20 years, a French archaeologist named Stephen Rostain had been working here. He knew there were mounds in the Upano, low, earthen platforms scattered through the forest. He had dug into them. He had mapped what he could, but the jungle only ever lets you see a few meters at a time. Walk 10 paces, and the wall of green closes behind you. For decades, the shape of the whole thing stayed just out of reach. Rostain could feel that something vast was there. He simply couldn't see it. What finally revealed it was a technology called lidar. The idea is deceptively simple. You fly an aircraft over the forest, and you fire hundreds of thousands of laser pulses at the ground every second. Most of them hit leaves and branches, but a few slip all the way through the canopy, strike the earth, and bounce back. Measure how long each pulse takes to return, and you can map the ground itself. Every mound, every ditch, every wall, as if you had reached down and peeled the entire forest away. When the Upano data was finally processed and published in 2024, it stopped archaeologists cold. Beneath 300 square kilometers of rainforest lay more than 6,000 earthen platforms, houses, plazas, and ceremonial mounds, gathered into at least 15 distinct settlements. What Rostain had spent a lifetime glimpsing in fragments appeared all at once, drawn in light. And the more they looked, the larger it became. The platforms weren't scattered at random. They were arranged in tight groups, rectangular earthen mounds built around open plazas, the foundations of homes and public buildings. Some sites held a few dozen, others held hundreds. Together, they formed not a single city, but a network of them. Towns and districts, strung along the valley for tens of kilometers, and they were connected. Cutting between the settlements were roads, wide, deliberate avenues, dug straight into the earth and edged with banks. Some ran arrow straight for miles before meeting another road at a clean right angle. Around them lay a patchwork of fields, drained and shaped by canals to bend the valley's water to a plan. Then there is the question of age. The earliest construction in the Upano began around 500 years before the Common Era, and the cities were lived in and built upon for something like 1,000 years after that. Which means that while Rome was still a small town on a river, people in the Amazon were already laying out avenues and raising plazas in the rainforest. This was not a primitive society scratching at the edge of the jungle. The sheer volume of earth that had to be moved, by hand, basket by basket, to raise these platforms and cut these roads rivals the great monument-building cultures of the ancient Americas. Archaeologists have a name for this kind of place. They call it a garden city, a sprawling, low-density urban world where homes, plazas, fields, and forest were woven into a single engineered landscape. Tens of thousands of people may have lived here, in a valley the textbooks insisted could never support a city at all. And that is where the trouble begins. Look again at those roads, straight lines running for kilometers, roads meeting at perfect right angles, canals bending water to a design. Nature does not build like this. Rivers wander, forests sprawl, animal trails curve and braid. A straight line, held across kilometers of broken ground, is the signature of one thing only: a mind, a plan, a central authority with the power to organize thousands of people and command them to dig. For most of the 20th century, that was supposed to be impossible here. The reigning theory even had a name: the counterfeit paradise. The Amazon, it argued, was a beautiful trap. Its soils too poor, its environment too punishing to ever support a dense, organized society. Whatever peoples lived here, the theory insisted, must have been small, simple, and scattered, incapable of cities, incapable of states. The Upano is the geometry that breaks that theory in half. You cannot dig a 25-kilometer road, drain a valley, and raise 6,000 platforms with a handful of wandering families. It demands engineers, planners, leaders, and the labor of generations. The pristine wilderness that explorers and scientists alike had marveled at for centuries, the great untouched Eden of the Amazon, turns out to have been something else entirely. It was not untouched. It was built, and then it was abandoned, and the forest was simply allowed to grow back over the top of it. So who were they, and where did they go? The cities of the Upano were raised by peoples archaeologists called the Kilimope and the Upano cultures, names borrowed from the layers of pottery and earth they left behind. We know them mostly through what they made, because they left no writing. They farmed the valley, traded across it, and sustained it for 1,000 years. And then, sometime after the year 500, the building stopped. The most likely reason is standing directly over the valley. Its name is Sangai, one of the most active volcanoes on Earth. Sangai gave the Upano people a gift and a curse in the same breath. Over millennia, its ash enriched the valley's soil and helped feed their fields. But a single large enough eruption could bury those fields, choke the rivers, and make the whole valley unlivable in a season. Many researchers believe it was the volcano, in the end, that emptied the cities. But here is the part that should unsettle you. The Upano is not alone. 2,000 kilometers to the south, in the Llanos de Mojos of Bolivia, lidar has revealed another lost world entirely: the Kasarabi culture. There, beneath grassland and forest, lie sprawling settlements linked by raised causeways, ringed by reservoirs, and crowned with conical earthen pyramids more than 20 meters tall. A separate people, a separate place, a separate civilization, and the very same shock. The Amazon, it turns out, did not hide one lost city. It hid many. And once you accept that, the whole forest changes in front of you, because the cities are only the beginning. For decades, researchers have been quietly assembling a stranger and far larger picture of the ancient Amazon, and the Upano is the proof that snaps it into focus. Consider the soil. Scattered across the basin are patches of earth so dark and so fertile that local farmers still prize them today. It is called terra preta, dark earth, and it is not natural. It was made, deliberately enriched over centuries by the people who lived here. Consider the trees themselves. Many of the most common species in the Amazon happen to be the ones that feed people. Fruit and nut trees, clustered far too conveniently to be an accident. Vast stretches of what we call wild rainforest are, in truth, the overgrown orchards of a vanished population. Add it all together, and the numbers turn staggering. Some researchers now estimate that before the year 1492, as many as 8 to 10 million people lived in the Amazon. And then, in a single catastrophic century, almost all of them were gone, swept away by waves of old-world disease that raced ahead of the Europeans themselves, killing people who never once saw a European face. The cities emptied, the fields fell silent, and the forest, patient and relentless, rose up and swallowed every trace. The Amazon we are taught to revere as the last great untouched wilderness on Earth is not untouched at all. It is a graveyard, a garden, grown wild over the bones of a civilization. Which leaves us with the hardest question of all. How much more is still down there? Lidar has only scanned a tiny fraction of the Amazon, a few valleys, a handful of survey corridors, slivers of a basin the size of a continent. And nearly every time researchers point the laser somewhere new, the forest gives up another secret, another road, another plaza, another town that no living person has ever walked. If the Upano and the Kasarabi were hiding in the small patches we happen to look at, it is almost impossible to believe they were the only ones. Somewhere under that canopy, there may be cities still completely unknown, whole chapters of human history that no one alive has ever read. And it leaves one last uncomfortable thought. A century ago, we called Percy Fawcett a fool for believing a great civilization lay hidden in the Amazon. He had the wrong map and the wrong city, and it cost him his life. But the thing he believed in, a lost world of cities beneath the trees, was real. We simply lack the eyes to see it. The jungle is still keeping its secrets. We are only just learning how to ask. The jungle didn't bury a city. It buried a civilization, and then disguised the grave as paradise. Some places aren't lost because they vanished. They're lost because we were never able to see them. The Amazon kept its cities for 2,000 years. It may be keeping more of them still. Buried worlds. Next time, a temple older than farming, older than writing, older than the wheel. Raised 11,000 years ago by people who left almost nothing else behind, and then deliberately buried it themselves. Göbekli Tepe, the first temple, and the mystery of who built it and why they buried it again.